Hey gang, I'm Cole Chaney and this is episode 51 of the CBD Source podcast. Happy Friday. Is it Friday? I'm not even sure anymore. It's all becoming a blur. You're listening to the CBD Source podcast, your source for all things CBD. Coming up on the show, we've got a big guest today, so you're in for a treat. We're going to be talking CBD, THC, sugar, and nutrition with a focus on how to incorporate CBD into your life and how to embrace it as part of an overall lifestyle upgrade. Maybe now that we're all in different stages of quarantine, we can incorporate some of these ideas and see how our lives improve, as well as some nutritional tips for what might work for you if you take too much THC and find yourself too high. We'll get to that guest shortly, but first, CBD gang, we have some extremely sad news that broke in the CBD and cannabis world this week. On Tuesday, April 7th, we lost one of our smallest and biggest heroes, Charlotte Figi. The little girl who's battled with Dravet Syndrome helped spark the CBD medicinal revolution. She died on Tuesday at her home. She was 13. According to the New York Times, her death was confirmed by her parents, Paige and Stephen Figi, who said the cause was most likely complications related to COVID-19, the disease caused by the novel coronavirus. By age 5, Charlotte was having over 300 seizures a week, about one every 30 minutes, Miss Figi said. Charlotte was in a wheelchair and used a feeding tube because she could not swallow. On several occasions, she was resuscitated after her heart stopped. The family tried dozens of medications, but they didn't work. Her mom said, "We were told by a doctor there was nothing left to try pharmaceutically." That is until they stumbled on a strain of cannabis that had a super high CBD content and very low THC content. Her parents gave her a CBD-rich, low THC strain of cannabis, then known as Hippie's Disappointment, because the THC was too low to produce psychoactive effects. Her mom was skeptical that it would work, but it did. Charlotte did not have any seizures for 7 days after starting the treatment, Ms. Figi said. She started talking, making eye contact, walking, and we removed her feeding tube. The seizures were reduced to about 1 a month. There's an amazing segment, gang, I encourage you to watch. You can find it on YouTube with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, the chief medical correspondent on CNN, where he visited the Figi family in this 2013 documentary called Weed. And we can embed that video into the blog post I'll be working on over the weekend about this. So here's how it kind of went down. Charlotte's mom, Paige, said that members of her family experienced an illness in early March that she believes was COVID-19, but they did not meet the requirements to be tested. Quote, she said, "I've never been that sick in my entire life." According to Charlotte's mom, while the rest of the family was recuperating, Charlotte's condition worsened and she was taken to the Children's Hospital in Colorado Springs on April 3rd. Charlotte tested negative for the virus and was diagnosed 2 days later. On Monday, Charlotte was feeling better. Paige painted Charlotte's toenails and they sat in the sun for a while. But early Tuesday morning, Charlotte had a seizure and became non-responsive. Quote, "It was the last moment she was alive, I feel." End quote. Charlotte was resuscitated by paramedics and rushed to the hospital. She had a seizure that led to her going into cardiac arrest. Ms. Figi said the Charlotte's test for the coronavirus came a month too late. False negatives are a known problem with the current coronavirus tests. For 9 years, thanks to CBD, Charlotte had the opportunity to live a life with a close resemblance to that of a young girl, her mother said. Charlotte was adventurous. She liked to hike and ride on the front of a tandem bike with her mother, and she enjoyed riding horses with her sister. But what was most important, Ms. Figi said, is that Charlotte was oblivious to the movement she started. Quote, "She found incredible resolution from cannabis, but she didn't know. She had a good life." Charlotte's mother's Facebook page updated a previous post to announce, quote, "She is seizure-free forever." Gang, Charlotte was a catalyst for so many, and she saved many lives, as well as the quality of life for so many. All of the people she touched through her short life cannot be measured, including our guest today, as you'll hear later. Charlotte, you are gone, but the impact you made and the lives you've helped through your own story will not be forgotten. As per the Figi family's request, in lieu of flowers, please make a contribution to the realm of caring through Charlotte's memorial page at Charlotte Memorial. That's CharlotteMemorial www.realmofcaring.org in memory of Charlotte. In lieu of cards, please kindly send your thoughts to charlottememorial@realmofcaring.org. To share your stories and memories, please post on social media using hashtag Charlotte's Light, spelled #CharLotTes, capital L, lowercase I-G-H-T. In light of the current situation, please keep all communications digital. If anyone listening has a friend or family member with epilepsy or Dravet Syndrome and has benefited from taking CBD and would like to voice a tribute to Charlotte, you can call our toll-free voicemail hotline 1-833-CBD-GANG. That's 1-833-223-4264. And we'll try to play it next week on our Wednesday live show. And finally, before we get into the heart of the episode, since I mentioned the live show, before we jump into this hour-long interview with our guest today, let me touch on this because I'm really proud of it. I, Cull Chaney, if you didn't know, have been recording from home quarantine pretty much in self-lockdown for the last 3 weeks. And in that time, I've finished transforming a large area of my apartment into a fully functioning set and recording studio. For the past 2 weeks, with the help of my girlfriend Brett, whom I'm quarantined with, we've streamed and recorded 2 episodes of our hour-long CBD Source Podcast Live Hemp Day 420 Smoke Sesh and CBD Giveaway, which air live Wednesdays from 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's New York time. The first episode is up now on our YouTube page. It's the first actual video we put up on our YouTube page, even though we've got tons in the bank. You can get to it through a link on our website at cbdsourcepodcast.com. In our first visual episode, the Cannabis Diet Chef Ryan Weber teaches us how to make CBD-infused canna milk. Now you get the little visual, and gives us advice about his own diabetes and CBD to a caller named Jen. I personally demonstrated how a magical butter decarb box works. We discussed Andrew Cuomo's near miss on the April 1st deadline for New York marijuana legalization, thanks to this fucking pandemic. We've got a video of me sitting down with Tommy Chung to hear his Weed Man van story. We did a live CBD Source unboxing. We talked about CBD for pets and CBD MD dog and cat treats. We vaped with a Smock Alternative Series device. And at 4:20, we hotboxed the studio. This is the first episode that's not to be missed, gang. Please check out our YouTube page, watch the video, subscribe, and ring that bell so when we drop new videos, which we've already done a second live stream, and that's going to be edited and put up there in the next week. Make sure not to miss that. Good stuff. Putting a second show together is really fun, but it is a lot of work. But it's worth it because we want to be able to connect with you, gang. We're all in quarantine together. We're all in this together, and we can't be vaping and seshing with you in real life. So if we can do it in VR, if we can do it in stream and online, why not? And it is let me put this out there. It is very easy for you to win CBD and CBG. All you have to do is be 21 years old or older, live in the continental United States, and just watch and interact with our hour-long live Wednesday show. We're filming and streaming on Facebook Live and Instagram Live. This is one of the easiest ways you'll ever get your hands on free cannabinoids during this pandemic, gang. I guarantee it. Because this is live, because this is so new, there's hardly anyone watching, so people are just getting free stuff by basically just being there and participating. It's simple, easy, and fun. So also just putting this out there, if you are running low on CBD and you want to be seshing with us, and you live in the New York or Pennsylvania area, 40-something of our 57 CBD Source locations are still open and available for drive-through and call-ahead purchasing, so visit cbdsourcecenter.com for details on which stores and their hours. And if they're available for call-in purchasing, you can call the store and find out. I also just want to give a quick shout-out to my girlfriend, Brett, whom I've been with for 4 years, for being so understanding. She's in the room with me right now while I'm recording this. She's got earphones on, and I think she's watching Twilight on her phone or something, or doing TikTok. She's been so understanding about me doing this live show, and right in our home, and helping me with taping it. You know, she's not getting paid. She's on disability, recovering from everything that she's gone through, and she reads the comments out loud so I can react to them. So she's just been such a big help, and I really thank her for that. I thank everyone at the office. Some people are still working there. I think it's like 25% of the staff can still be working from the office. Thank them for letting me work at home during this. Gang, we launched this podcast 51 episodes ago, just 10 days shy of a year ago, on April 20th, 2019, 4/20/2019. But if you haven't listened to every episode, you might not realize that 11 days before the show launched, My and my girlfriend's personal lives were thrown into a tailspin when on April 9th, 1 year ago yesterday, she had a massive stroke. When she was in the hospital being treated for that, she was also diagnosed with an advanced form of cancer. And she was in the hospital and later a nursing home for months, where I would go to see her almost every night after working on the show. Probably the first 10 to 15 episodes. I can't remember exactly when she finally was able to come home, and was in the middle of chemo treatments and radiation treatments. And it's been a rough year, gang. I'm not going to lie. So it's been fun having her helping me with this show. It's been an amazing experience. And I want to give a huge shout out now to Brett's mom, Joan, for dropping her own life for the past year to basically live here every weekday, being Brett's caregiver and nursing her back to health while I was working during the day. Next episode is our big 4/20/2020 1-year anniversary show, and I want to do a big look back on how far we've come with this show. The great guests we've had and all the milestones we've hit that we had no idea we'd hit so soon, and all the great people that are working on the show, and a timeline of all the behind-the-scenes stuff. So, gang, on a brighter note, here's an interview I recorded before the pandemic changed everyone's world for the weird. Let's cannabis dive right into it. She's a nutrition expert and best-selling author of The Sugar Detox. She's the founder of B Nutritious and Daily Habit CBD. You can see her regularly making appearances on The Dr. Oz Show, The Today Show, and Access Hollywood. We're super psyched to have her on the show. So, gang, let's give a big CBD Source podcast welcome to Brooke Alpert.
Gang, you're listening to the CBD Source podcast.
Your whole background is pretty much in sugar and things like that, right? All of your books are about sugar and nutrition and skin and stuff like that. Pregnancy. maybe you can tell me how you got started. What led you down this path of nutrition in the first place?
Sure. So I'm a registered dietitian. I've had a private practice here in New York City for about 15 years. And when I went back to school for, nutrition, I wanted to have a private practice and help people lose weight and feel better and the works, what a dietitian would do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really good at my job. I had a really successful practice and I was making hundreds and hundreds of men and women feel better every day. But my husband at home was not feeling better. And my husband, we've been married around 15 years as well, has a really severe autoimmune disease. And the way that it affects him the most is that he can't stand or walk for really any period of time.
Oh, wow.
About 5 years ago, the pain and neuropathy, which is what it presents as, spread to his hands, which was right after we had our second daughter together. So being able to help so many people feel like better versions of themselves is great. But when I'm coming home to my sick husband and seeing how his quality of life is suffering and how he's not really able to be the father he wants to be was hard.
What was the disease?
So he has autoimmune peripheral neuropathy, which is really just a description for your legs really, really hurt.
Mm.
And he gets burning, all sort of nerve pain. So burning, spasms, cramping, and severe pain. So he deals with a lot of chronic pain. He has a lot of PTSD from some, former accidents and stuff. So he's a hot mess of a man, but I'm going to keep him.
Hey, aren't we all?
Right. And so what happened is that I started trying to figure out how I can help him feel better in the area that I'm an expert, right? So that's diet and nutrition and supplements. And I put this guy through the ringer. And then every time I'd meet another, doctor who I became friendly with, or another practitioner, I'd be like, I need you to see my husband. And so,
yeah.
we spent about 10 years where I was taking this guy to every new friend I made. I was having him on every insane diet. At one point, he's eating cabbage and liver only. I'm really, really surprised he stayed married to me for as long as we have been, because I would have left me easy. So after the years of crazy diets, he basically said, I'm done.
Yeah.
Just be my wife. Just be the mother of my kids. Don't be my doctor anymore. And I said, fine. But behind the scenes, I was still looking for other alternatives for him. And this was around 5 years ago. And I started stumbling across some research that was really cool about CBD. I didn't know much about it. I was always, obviously a proponent of medical marijuana. I didn't see the plant as something that would be anything negative to anyone. So
that's great. I mean, you say obviously to you because you know yourself, but like not every nutritionist is all obviously about that. So that's great. There's still a big stigma out there in a lot of states. I know we're both from New York, so like it's not, so obvious here.
Yes, no, you're right. It's not obviously, but maybe I'm referring to more of my college lifestyle that would make it obvious. But
I see.
But, as someone who loves like healing with plants and healing with nature, to me, it was obvious. And so I looked into CBD, and the first like research articles I stumbled across was about CBD and chronic pain and PTSD. And I was like, this is really cool. And so I found a brand that I thought I could really trust, which was Charlotte's Web. Mm-hmm. Which I think that anyone in our industry would easily say is a solid gold standard brand for all of us.
It was the original. I think they've changed their formula because basically like in the beginning, Charlotte's Web was an actual strain of marijuana that just had high CBD. I think they called it like Hippie's bummer weed or something. I can't remember what it was. But like since hemp has become legalized, industrial hemp. Now, like all CBD has to come from that. So they just had to find like a CBD strain that was similar to what I think that's what happened because they can't sell the CBD that's derived from actual marijuana, which is what they originally were selling, like a very high CBD strain of marijuana.
Right. And it was, the company was really developed after this little girl named Charlotte who had a severe form of epilepsy. Right. So I knew that there was science behind what they did and I could recommend it to my husband. And we call my husband Cannabis friendly, which we think is a very polite and, professional style term for a pothead. So
man, I just found a new word for myself.
You're Cannabis friendly too. I have t-shirts made for those. I'll send you one.
Nice.
And basically I just said, look, eat whatever you want. Take a couple of these. Here's the dosing that I've found that is recommended. It's made from pot. And he's like, sweet, I'll try it. And within a month, my husband's quality of life had a massive change. So see him go from this guy that couldn't stand and couldn't walk and who was really struggling to see him being able to push himself more with less consequences. If like he'd push himself to like 5 blocks of walking, he'd be down for the count for the rest of the day. So he was able to push himself and then still be okay for the rest of the day. Didn't take it all away, but it made his quality of life that much better.
That's good.
And the best part was like, we saw it when he was able to teach our oldest daughter how to ride a bike. And for any parents that are listening, I mean, teaching your kids how to ride a bike, no matter what kind of shape you're in, is like grueling. It is physically grueling and embarrassing to someone who thinks she is so in shape. The pain that you can be in trying to hold up, like a 50-pound kid along with the bike and everyone's spazzing out. So the fact that he was able to do it, and the only thing that was different in his life was CBD, made me very curious into learning more.
Yeah. So, what type of dose was he on, like, to start?
He wasn't on that high. I would say maybe he was taking like 50 milligrams, which is a high dose to begin with, but he's now on like 100 milligrams 2 to 3 times a day.
Nice.
I'd say that he was taking 50 milligrams maybe twice a day then. That's what I recommended. I don't know how, exact he always was. I think he would just pour some stuff into his mouth, to be honest.
He was taking it like sublingually, tinctures? Yeah,
we had the tinctures from them. And after that, I started just doing more research. I mean, I'm a practitioner. All I want to do is learn and see how I could help people more. And then the next round of research was all about CBD and anxiety. And that really like sparked a light in my brain thinking, well, a lot of my clients who struggle with emotional eating, it all stems from anxiety. Mm-hmm. So what if I took a couple of my clients that I was comfortable with and I said, hey, let's just give this a try. And so I gave them Charlotte's Web again. And I said, I want you taking this, pre those emotional eating times. So for a lot of my female clients, I gave to 4 in the month of August a couple of years ago. And I said, I want you taking it before you put the kids to bed or before you leave the office, right before the binge eating behavior really happened. And those 4 clients in that month had like a full turnaround. It was like a 180. Their control over their eating, their anxiety levels, and then even their sleep levels, which was just a bonus, got better.
Wow.
And I mean, that's where I knew that something was there. And then I went ahead and signed up to become, to do some coursework to become a cannabis practitioner. I'm just like a research nerd at the end of the day, and I just want to learn more and more. So I did this really cool academy online for 6 months and became a cannabis practitioner, thinking I'd work with people with medical marijuana. I wanted to be able to help walk people through dispensaries, help them find the right strain and the CBD THC ratio.
That's great.
You see, I'm nerding out.
No, I like that.
The whole time as I'm taking this course, I was like, God, CBD at the end of the day is this ultimate wellness vitamin. But I couldn't find a product that screamed wellness. So my husband's taking tinctures and pills. That doesn't feel wellness. That feels really clinical. I'm a dietitian who's literally written the book against sugar. I can't be recommending gummies in my practice. So I really was looking for something that felt that wellness vibe. And, vaping, while I find it very effective, again, didn't go with that vibe I was looking for.
Right.
This is what every entrepreneur is guilty of. We decide to go ahead and make it ourselves. And then that's how Daily Habit was born.
So what is that? What is Daily Habit?
So I created the first full spectrum CBD powder to the market.
Powder? And
I wanted a powder because I wanted it to be super user friendly. I wanted it to scream wellness. I wanted people to be able to throw it into their smoothies or their, bulletproof keto coffees or whatever you were doing. I just wanted it to be easy and not feel medicinal. I can't get my clients to take any more supplements than they already take. So that took out pills. Tinctures, I think they're super effective, but it wasn't the vibe we were going for. I wanted wellness, not clinical. And that's why I decided to make a powder.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't even know about that. That's awesome. When did you launch that brand?
We are about a year now.
Nice. Congratulations. Yeah. So you're based out of New York City? Where do you source your hemp?
All right. So from the last few batches, our hemp was organically grown in Oregon.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Oregon's where it's at, I think.
for sure.
So tell me some of the stories about like your different patients, how you've turned them on to CBD and like how their lives have been improved. Not just your husband, but like just in your normal practice. Like how have you incorporated it beyond those few test subjects, especially now that you have your own supplements that you can give them?
Yeah, it definitely makes it easier, and becoming more certified and more educated on the product made it easier to then start recommending it to my clients. I really did take a leap of faith recommending it to those 4 because I was not an expert at the time. I mean, ask me about omegas and vitamin D, and probiotics, that I can talk anyone's ear off. But at the time, I couldn't do the same with CBD. Now, unfortunately for many, I can do the same with CBD.
Yeah, if you watch videos if anyone searches videos for you of Brooke Alpert on YouTube, you'll find like a lot of videos about nutrition and probiotics and like skin and sugar. Like sugar, you've got the lockdown on. If you can do it like sugar and CBD type of book, like you're gold. I mean, that's your 2 master's degrees practically. You know what I mean? So,
my niche.
Yeah. Are you thinking of coming up with a book for like about CBD and how CBD works and things like that?
I think it would take a lot of CBD for me to write another book. I've written 3. One was a bestseller.
Nice. Which was the bestseller?
The Sugar Detox.
Congratulations. I think I've actually seen that like in Barnes & Noble or something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it. It's a good book.
Very cool.
I think a CBD book, it's something I've played around with. And I don't know. I don't know that a book is the right way to educate the consumer on CBD. I feel like podcasts like this, the articles I write, I almost feel like I need a quicker, more effective, immediate way to answer people's questions, which is why I speak on stages all the time about CBD right now. So I find that to be most effective. And the truth is, the one-on-ones I do in my practice and with people that I'm meeting everywhere, like that's also the best because it as we spoke about it earlier, there's a stigma still associated with this plant. I mean, and for goodness sake, we're talking about industrial hemp. We're not even talking about proper cannabis,
Yeah.
So it's quite comical. I think from, my personal circle, it's very funny. I really don't drink alcohol. I can't even have dark chocolate after like 3 p.m. because it'll keep me up. We live a very clean, simple lifestyle. And now I'm walking around with, like pot leaf necklaces and representing this company.
No, that's great. I love it. Yeah. I love it when someone's, known for one thing, straight laced doing this one thing. And then all of a sudden you find the plant. And once the plant finds you and you realize that, oh man, this could be the answer to a lot of questions, that's when you start digging deeper and finding out like what it really can do. And the thing is that it's so new, and there's like hardly any really good scientific studies on humans right now. Like there's a lot in the works, but like it needs more like research to like actually have doctors being able to prescribe it and all that other stuff, like getting out there. I don't know what
I think is crazy though. There's a lot of people that say, well, the research isn't solid yet. And then I can point them to 150 well-published research articles. I mean, like projectcbd.org is my favorite resource when it comes to finding any sort of journal style studies. I mean, there's tons of research.
Right, but
we
like,
just haven't caught on yet.
Right. They need to publish them in places where people read them, like, or like put them on I don't know, MSNBC or whatever, wherever people are watching TV, Fox News. You know, like, because nobody's reading these. No one's going to the website and reading this stuff anymore. It's kind of like you need to get it out there to, like, in People magazine or something dumb where everyone's actually, like, where eyeballs are, or, you know, on the internet, you know, whatever. It's something like, also, are they clinical trials where they're, like, trying placebos and all of that stuff, too? That kind of stuff?
There's a lot of clinical trials happening now, especially with the stuff that's going on with isolates and the pharmaceutical companies that are patenting the isolates, which blows my mind. But there's tons of studies about how effective full spectrum CBD derived from hemp can be for so many different issues, whether it's insomnia, PTSD, anything from like menstrual cramps to migraines. I mean, we are covering the gamut here.
Right. I love full spectrum, like as far as the different variants, you know, like broad spectrum, isolate, full spectrum. I think that entourage effect thing is very real. You know what I mean? Like, I think it really is necessary. For me, I like a 1-to-1 of THC to CBD, or like even a little bit more like a 4-to-1 of CBD sometimes. It gets me in a very creative mind space. Like, I can just sit there and write for hours when I'm like that. It gets me in a very, very, my brain just goes focused. It's really amazing. I don't know.
Well, there's amazing studies about CBD for ADD and ADHD. And I don't have either one, but when I take Daily Habit in the morning in my coffee and then get to work, I am shocked at how productive I can be, where it's this like high level of productivity. But yet I'm not hopping onto Facebook. I'm not checking, you know, our sales. I'm doing the work that needs to get done. And it's a massive difference compared to the days that if I don't take it for a few days, I'll start to feel it after 2 or 3 days that I haven't taken it. And that's when I'm reading like online articles more. It's really fascinating. And occasionally I even give my product to my oldest daughter when I see that she's really nervous about something at school or feeling really anxious, or she's an athlete and her muscles are sore. So I think that we're just slowly, opening the books about what this can actually do.
The last couple of months, I've actually started taking I do have I don't know what you'd call it. I guess you could call it a powder, but it's like, a drink mix type of thing that's CBD, like heavy. And I just put that in like in the morning on the way to work. I'll take that and just drink that with like an energy drink, not a Red Bull or something, but just like a Lipton or whatever. Just mix the two together and I know it's probably nutritionally shit to do that, but it's great because it's like it evens out. Not only am I waking up, I'm leaving early in the morning, but it gives me that CBD edge too. So it's like I'm getting it also. So I understand the powder concept. It's cool. Yeah. I can imagine if you're doing, wheatgrass or whatever you're doing, if you want to make it healthy style, like for, your patients and whatnot. I was just remembering like episode 15, we did a whole episode about a guy who had, I think he was like 24 or 25 years old, and he had like extreme case of ADD, and he was on so many medications all through his life. And it wasn't until he found CBD like a month or something before we did the podcast, and it just leveled him out the same way that these medications did without those crazy side effects.
Exactly. So
if anyone does out there listening does have ADD or knows someone who has ADD or ADHD, their kid is a zombie and they're giving them these narcotics or whatever, these opiates to try to fix it. Like, listen to episode 15 and, maybe it might change your mind a little bit, coming firsthand from someone who started taking those, prescribed as a child all the way up till he was early 20s, and then realizing on his own he can't function that way for the rest of his life. So had to go about it on his own, figure it out. So it's kind of cool to, like, the more episodes we do, the more different walks of life we talk to people who have experienced these things. So when someone actually brings it up, it's like, yeah, we actually know someone who has that exact experience. Yeah. And CBD really benefited them. So very cool.
Yeah. I'm not against medications for people. And I think sometimes that medications is the last resort, especially when it comes to ADD and ADHD. It might be really necessary, right, for your kid's quality of life, to get through the day, to be a functioning child in school. But I think it's amazing if we look at things from a little bit more of a holistic standpoint. We take out certain foods. Mm-hmm. We change a little bit the dietary and lifestyle compartments. We add in some CBD. Perhaps they may not need the medication. Perhaps they might need less medication.
Right.
You know, I think that there's so many things to look for before we go right for meds. But at the end of the day, sometimes medication is necessary for some.
It's one of those things that once this becomes taught in med school, then, you know, doctors will think of it more maybe as a first choice than the, you know, a possible holistic alternative or whatever bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear.
Like, it just isn't taught yet. So it's not, you know, because it isn't blah, blah, blah. It hasn't enough research, whatever. I want to talk to you about, like, we have a segment on our show called the Cannabis Diet, which we're kind of like, we've done it audibly before, but we're kicking it off on YouTube. We have a whole kitchen to do this. We have a Cannabis Diet chef who's got like 12 years of chef experience, and now he's really pushing into the CBD infused world. What would you say is like you know, you're all about balancing diets and you know, telling people what to eat and how to balance their life. Like, how could you incorporate CBD if you were to try to, like, incorporate it into your meals and things like that? What would you say would be a great way to do that? Like a healthy, balanced diet with incorporating CBD, if you didn't want to do, like, say, with your powder. I mean, that could go into a shake with any meal, really. But, like, how would you say, like, to balance your diet, you know, have a nice, nutritious life for weight loss or, you know, for fitness and health? What would you say?
Sure.
Give us some ideas. I'm sure there's not one, like, this is the surefire way for everybody, but, like, maybe some just suggestions for people out there, different body types or.
Yeah, I get it. So the cool thing about Daily Habit, my product, is that our base is a coconut powder. Then we're high MCTs, which is a specific type of fat that gives you energy. Mm-hmm. So it happens to mix beautifully into coffees and teas, and it acts as a non-dairy creamer. So I love a good cup of black coffee in the morning. And when I have that and I mix in some Daily Habit, it's creamy, and I don't eat dairy. So it happens to be like a really nice addition, and makes my coffees and teas really, really nice. And same thing, if you're having like a sleepy time tea before bed, it's really beautiful that way. Huh. When it comes to like eating all of these foods that are infused with CBD, I think it's great. And the more that we get CBD out there, then the quicker we're going to start reducing the stigma that's associated with it.
Sure.
But just like when it comes to like your vitamins and minerals, I think it's important to be getting the good stuff from your food. So, I mean, you can't be eating like pizzas and burgers and like milkshakes, but being like, well, I took CBD twice today, so therefore I'm going to be healthy, right? I mean, that's total BS. There's no way that's going to work. And what's super cool is the whole endocannabinoid system, the ECS, that is the main receptors for everything CBD, THC, and more, actually does better with a healthy lifestyle. So this ECS can actually be more effective and more efficient when you're eating a diet that's low in sugar, that's low in inflammatory foods. So that we're talking about like the white flours, the white sugars, all the refined crap that tastes so good to eat. When you've got a lot of like fruits, vegetables, and lean protein. So when your body is effectively being its healthiest, your ECS is going to be that much healthier. And that means you're going to get that much more out of the CBD, THC, or any other cannabinoid that you might be consuming. So I think that's really important. What concerns me a bit as a practitioner is people saying, oh, well, I'm going to have these CBD cookies with my meal. I'm going to have a CBD water, which just got sent to me. I have like a CBD energy drink that was just sent to me to try out. And then I'm going to have CBD face lotion. And then I'm going to add CBD butter to my pasta tonight. And you know, this is still, I'd like to think of it as a nutritional supplement. And I still think we need to be aware of how much are we consuming. One, it's expensive, right? So I don't want to be consuming more than I need and then start, you know, increasing my tolerance, because that's just going to be a very costly habit.
Right.
But I think it's important that you're aware of how much you're consuming and when you're consuming it so that you know how you're feeling from it. You know, it's like fruits, vegetables, protein, eat whenever. But when you're adding supplements to your diet that you're looking to see a specific response from, I think that's when you need to have some sort of controlled intake over it. And whether it's because you're dosing it appropriately, whether you have CBD every evening, the consistency is the most important to me.
So if you're getting to it, we like to say, like, when you're trying to figure out how much CBD you need, you know, you start low and you start titrating up, and you titrate up until you get to your optimal level. If you take too much, I mean, you won't see any more effectiveness. You'll be like, okay, I'm just wasting money. Now I'm just throwing CBD on top of what I don't need. And that's when you just titrate down back to the perfect level. And it's kind of like your gold standard. Like that's your level for this day. You know, maybe if you're menstruating or something, you might need a little more or less. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I've heard some people say that, like, different times of the month, women might need different amounts of CBD depending on, is that true or not? Is that a real thing?
Funny. I mean, look, hormone levels can affect the amount of pain you're feeling. It can affect your focus. It can affect headaches. I mean, there's all different things. But we can also say, like, the moon cycles can do the same thing to men and women. So, yeah, I mean, I think that your needs are going to vary from day to day depending on your stressors and everything else, as well as your hormones. So, yeah, but on like a night that I don't sleep very well and I have my kids waking me up and I've got a crazy day full of meetings, I'm probably going to need extra CBD compared to my normal, like 10 to 20 milligrams that I take a day.
Right. Yeah. When I was a kid, I remember my dad, whenever there was a full moon, my mom would know it's a full moon just by how he was acting. Like, he had a weird way of acting on a full moon day. Like,
werewolf as a father.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't involve hair, but it just involved him being a stranger. I don't know. You could tell that, you know, something was affecting him. I never had that, but maybe. I don't know.
More CBD Source podcast after this. This segment of the CBD Source podcast is brought to you by
Catskill Hemp Co. Our very own Catskill Hemp Co. CBG and CBD flower are currently being offered in all 57 CBD Source locations in Pennsylvania and New York. Go to cbdsourcecenter.com to see which stores are currently open. I think you can just call in your order, drive there, and pick it up. Catskill Hemp Co. smokable hemp flower comes in 3 strains. Our most popular strain is CBG, which is known to naturally regulate various health functions such as mood, sleep, and appetite. Next up is Hawaiian Haze, a mostly sativa strain that produces high-quality stimulating effects. Last but not least, we have our Sour Space Candy, which has a strong flavor profile similar to Sour Diesel. These 3 top-shelf hemp strains come in a collectible glass jar and pack a big flavor punch. Go to catskillhempco.com to learn more, and cbdsourcecenter.com for locations, hours, and phone numbers.
We're back with more of the CBD Source podcast. Here's your host, Cull.
What are good healthy alternatives to sugar? Like, as far as just your normal diet, what would you incorporate into your diet, like in place of sugar, like a natural alternative, maybe?
All right, so there's no such thing as a natural alternative to sugar, right? So, like, you could use stevia. What's happened is that we're eating too many sweets in general, and we've gotten our palates too associated to consuming sweet things. So
I love sweets. I don't know, man. I love sweets. Yeah, it's sort of like your tongue has a certain preference in life, I guess, or you develop a preference for it. I like savory and sweet. You know, like, I don't like spicy and super hot. I'll take hot if there's sweet attached to it, but not just plain hot. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's weird. It's like your taste buds, you sort of develop a palate, and then how the hell do you break out of it? Like, how do you teach people to break out of this addiction to sweets, to sweetness?
So for the most part, I have them go cold turkey. They're not normally thrilled with me during that. I mean, that's what we did in the sugar detox. It was just like, we're taking away all fruit, all flour, anything that really tastes that good. I took away dairy, because even like good things have a lot of sugar in them. You know, I get clients coming to me who are putting artificial sweeteners on top of fruit, you know, on top of strawberries, which is insane. Strawberries should be sweet enough on their own. We don't need whipped cream to make strawberries taste good. We don't need a packet of Splenda like my client was doing on top of strawberries. So what's happened to his palate that's the kind of sweetness that he's looking for from a strawberry, right? So what happens is that the artificial sweeteners are the worst thing ever because they overwhelm your taste bud and your palate with this huge amount of sweetness. And that prevents you from actually realizing that strawberries are naturally sweet. So when you're drinking these coffees that are, instead of coffees, you've turned them into milkshakes with artificial or regular sugars, milk, you know, the whipped cream on top, the syrups, the flavoring, the works, all you're doing is telling your palate, like, this is what your baseline should be. And that should be super high in sugar. So it takes a couple of days, but once you've given up adding sugars to all of your food, once you've taken away the flavored yogurts and all the desserts, when you start to eat those strawberries or an apple, all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, this is sweet, right? Or dark chocolate. Like, I have clients that like have all of a sudden discovered their love for dark chocolate because high quality dark chocolate is okay. And it's not hyper palatable. Hyper palatable means that there's a certain sugar content in certain foods like milk, chocolate, and more that make you want to overconsume it. Like, that's me with Hershey Kisses. I don't even like milk chocolate, but give me a Hershey Kiss and I'm going to eat the entire bag. It's so deceiving because you're basically telling your body this is something that you're going to need to overconsume. But when you get to like the good quality dark chocolate, it's amazing. You can have an ounce and be like, yeah, I'm good. So we just bombard our taste buds with unnecessary sweetness. So stop adding sugar to anything. Drink your coffee iced if you can't tolerate it hot and not sweet, because it's a lot more palatable when it's iced because of the cold affects your taste buds in a good way for that reason. And then slowly start reducing sugar everywhere else.
So if you had coffee that was, you said iced coffee will be more palatable than hot coffee if it doesn't have sugar in it?
Yeah. So if like you normally drink coffee with like milk and sugar, right? Like a hot cup of coffee with milk and sugar.
Right.
And you take away the sugar. For a lot of people, it's not palatable.
Right.
Right. If you make it iced, for whatever reason, whether the temperature and how it affects your palate, it just makes it a lot easier to consume iced. So I can get a lot of people drinking black iced coffee in the morning when we're trying to really limit our carbohydrate intake, when we're trying to, you know, obviously take away the added sugars. And that just makes it a lot more easier to drink. I'm not going to take away coffee. I'm not cruel.
Cool tip.
Yeah.
That is a good tip. When you're talking about the dark chocolate, it reminded me, I once took a trip to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and, you know, they have the whole tour and I think we paid extra to do this like tasting of the different types of chocolate, all the types they make or something. And they have like some European chocolates that they own the rights to that are just, you know, that dark chocolate, like sort of cacao type of chocolates or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, my sugar tolerance is way too high for this. This tastes like garbage to me. Like, I cannot eat this. You know,
yeah, but I mean, if you go for like Hugh Kitchen, which is one of my favorite chocolates out there, it's 72%. So it's not crazy high. It's really palatable for a lot of people, and it's really good quality without added sugars. That I would recommend. Go try Hugh Kitchen. You won't go wrong there.
Put a little CBD on it, or
whatever makes you happy.
Melt it down and like infuse it. I don't know.
I do make chocolate leaves in my little pot leaf molds, which are really fun.
Oh, I have pot leaf molds. I love them.
Yeah.
Pot leaf silicone molds. Everyone should get some. You should brand those.
I have, yeah.
Nice. It's cool. So what is your, so you said you take about 20 a day milligrams or something like that in the morning and night, something like that?
You know, it depends. I normally take it every morning, but I find that when I'm being consistent with taking it, I can easily go a day or two and not take it and not feel any worse. Once I go past 4 days without having it, that's when I start to notice the absence. That's where I notice I'm a little bit more short-tempered with my kids. I'm a little bit more irritated by things. So then I'll start taking it again. But I love that I can go a few days without taking CBD because it means that my homeostasis, that balance the ECS is trying to create in my body is being effective. And I can go, that's a good 3-4 days without it if I've been taking it consistently. So if I go on a trip and I can't take it with me, or if I forget it, it's not like something I need to panic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm cool. And then after around 4 days is when I want to start reintroducing it back.
I've heard that before. That it builds up in your system if you've been taking it consistently. So it kind of like stays around for a couple of days or multiple days. That's cool.
Yeah. So it builds up in a good way. Like
Right.
It's not like building a tolerance, which can also occur, but it's sort of like if we're fixing this imbalance that you have,
Mm-hmm.
it's like going to a chiropractor, right? It's like you go to the chiropractor, you feel good, and then slowly after a couple more weeks, you're going to need to go back to get readjusted. It's similar that way, that it's sort of like fixes me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, puts me back in balance, and then I can take a couple of days without it before I start feeling the absence of it.
Right. You've got that homeostasis riding for a few days there. It's sort of like, there's probably a huge part of our population that never touch cannabinoids and never, they've only got what their body's naturally producing. They're never getting CBD. They're never making their whole system nice and level. So it's sort of like a car running on basically fumes their entire life. This is like you've gassed up your car too full. It's going to go a couple days, running like there's nothing wrong with it. And once you start to see that going near the E, once that little thing's ticking by the E, then you just got to take more CBD and titrate back up to your normal levels, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
More CBD Source podcast right after this. This segment of the CBD Source podcast is brought to you by
Sweetly Stevia. Up until New Year's, I was a heavy coffee drinker. Until Danny, the host of C-Body with Danny, told me, hey, try giving up coffee for the new year. I asked her what alternative. She said green tea. So I've been drinking green tea since the new year. Totally cut coffee out of my life. But what I was flavoring my coffee with and what I flavor my green tea with now is an all-natural, zero-calorie sweetener called Sweetly Stevia. Now, you never heard of this because it's a new product to market. You've tried stevia, and it's fucking gross. Let's be real. I mean, the aftertaste on stevia is disgusting. I remember a couple years ago, I was drinking coffee and I was using like Splenda in it, which is also gross. But I heard all this bad stuff about Splenda and I was done with it. So I switched over to try. I was like, I'm going to train my taste buds to like stevia. So I started putting stevia in my coffee and just dealt with this bitter plant gross aftertaste for years. I was drinking coffee like that. It was freaking disgusting. That is until Sweetly Stevia came to be. This is an amazing product. It started in Europe, and the amazing thing about this Sweetly Stevia, which is totally different than the other stevias on the market, gang, is that they use a process it's kind of a process that they use in extracting cannabinoids from hemp. Instead of using any harsh chemicals like the other CBD brands do, this company has a patented process using water extraction. That's my New Jersey accent saying water. They use a water process that extracts the sweetness from the plant naturally without any chemical. It's all natural, non-GMO. And in my opinion, this product tastes just like sugar. It's unbelievable. There's none of that gross plant aftertaste. I go through it really fast here. My girlfriend's mom was also using it for her when she was here all year. And recently we ran out of it. And before I could order another box, she bought a box of some generic version of stevia at the supermarket. And it reminded me again how gross stevia normally is. So I ordered another box on Amazon, and this is the second box I've had in the last several months. I needed to order the big box on Amazon for quarantine. I've got my Sweetly Stevia box, big ass box that I ordered on Amazon, and I've been slowly depleting it. I know I'm gonna have to go back for more. But yeah, you can order Sweetly Stevia on Amazon. It ships very quickly, and trust me, the taste of it, Chef Ryan Weber and myself did a little blind taste test between other packets of stevia that are on the market. Big brands are the big competitors of Sweetly, and no question, Sweetly was heads and tails way above the rest. There was none of that aftertaste. It tasted exactly like sugar to my palate, and I am a big sugar guy. So if you're like me, I know that Brooke really wants people to cut sugar out completely and just get used to having your mouth experience food without adding any additional sweetener to it. But if you're like me and that's an impossibility, that's just never going to happen, I've tried every alternative, every other kind of sweetener. Sweetly Stevia is the way to go. You can learn more by going to sweetlysteviausa.com, and you can buy it directly through Amazon. It ships Prime on Amazon. You can order it direct through Amazon. You can be drinking your coffee or green tea with it, in a couple days. You don't have to suffer through quarantine with bad sweeteners. So order some Sweetly Stevia for yourself today.
The CBD Source podcast resumes now with your host, Cole Cheney. Take it away, Cole.
I was talking to another nutritionist about a week ago. Her name's Julie E. And she was saying she's really a holistic LA, like you plus LA, you know what I mean? Or like San Francisco or whatever. And she was saying like one thing that she likes to do is take oil, like almond oil or other types of oil, and it'll actually boost having CBD in your body. Somehow like taking other oil, like putting like almond oil or some hemp oil or other things like onto a salad, like extra oil that we need more oil in our systems or something. And when you add that to your diet, it kind of like will actually boost the CBD or help it work better or like function better. Have you heard anything like that?
And not like adding to the salad, but you'll notice that all CBDs are normally paired with some type of fat, right? So all the tinctures are based with an oil. We use a coconut powder, which is high in fat.
The MCT oil or is it MCT powder?
We use coconut powder, which is 50% MCT powder mixed in. CBD needs a fat carrier to get to where it's going. So I like to think of that as like fat soluble vitamins. I'm going to nerd out, so bear with me for a moment.
All right.
So we have water soluble vitamins and fat soluble vitamins. So you can only absorb fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K if you have fat in your diet, right? So if you're on a fat-free diet, you're going to be missing those vitamins because the body can't absorb it without fat. Same thing with CBD. Every CBD needs fat as a carrier. So whether it's hemp seed oil, which has no CBD in it, but it's a beautiful source of fat, almond, coconut, olive, whatever it is all really effective to help the body better absorb the CBD and THC and all those other 100 cannabinoids and terpenes that you want to be consuming. And that just said, in general, consuming fat is really necessary for overall health, and it helps reduce your blood sugar levels, which is better for your inflammatory levels. So that's where I see the real connection between CBD and fat.
It's funny because like for so many years, fat was the scary culprit. And now people like you bringing sugar to the forefront when everyone's starting to realize that sugar was actually the enemy all along. And yeah, maybe you could break that down a little bit for us.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's quite scandalous, and it's going to make me sound like I'm some conspiracy watcher. But at the end of the day, it's true. We found out that all of the studies that were demonizing fat in the 80s, I mean, I grew up on Diet Coke and Snackwell's cookies, that all of these studies that were demonizing fat were actually sponsored by, government areas of like agriculture, right? So they wanted all of a sudden for these fat-free cereals, these high fiber cereals that had no fat in them to be like the number one thing. And so what happened was we stopped eating so much fat. Eggs got demonized.
Yeah, remember that?
Demonized.
That was so weird. It was like eggs are bad for you. And then it was like, no, eggs are actually good for you. And then it kept flipping. And I think it's still, who knows? Like, what's the real consensus? Do we know? Eggs are good, right?
Eggs that are pasture raised, organically grown eggs are one of the best foods you could possibly eat. Same thing with grass-fed beef. So everything that we were told, we've really turned on its head in the last decade, which is awesome, but it's so frustrating that we had to go through that. And so sugar, turns out, is what's really bad, right? So instead of eating all that fat, we started eating foods higher in sugar, because when you remove fat from foods, you need it to be shelf stable. And so you have to add in lots of sugar to also make it taste good.
Right.
So sugar acted like as a preservative and as a flavor profile when you removed the fat. The problem is that when you take out fat, things, you don't get as full as easily, and you don't feel as satisfied from your food. So we start for eating when things are fat-free, and then we're starting to add in all that sugar, which is making us hungrier. So no wonder why we got fatter and sicker during these fat-free years.
God damn you scientists.
So it's really beautiful seeing this turnaround and seeing people approaching avocados, and putting olive oil on salads. I mean, I've had people come to me that didn't like salads because they didn't think they could have real salad dressing. Like, how sad that someone was depriving themselves of olive oil. I mean, like, that's a sad life.
Yeah.
So yeah, sugar is truly the enemy. Sugar is the reason for heart disease and inflammation, most likely cancers and more. Don't be afraid of fat. Don't be afraid. Eat the fat. Eat your eggs.
Thank you. I feel like I just got permission from somebody who knows. Another thing I wanted to ask about eggs, though, like a lot of people separate the yolk from the white. You need the whole egg, right?
Well, I mean, look, egg whites are awesome. They've got great amount of protein and some good stuff, but all the real good stuff is in the yolk. All of these really hard to find vitamins like choline, especially, which is so important for brain health, all of the healthy fats, all of that is in the yolk, right? And when you have
choline,
yeah, choline.
See, I'm learning new vitamins too.
It's a new vitamin.
Is it?
And when you find eggs that were like, if you can find someone that is either raising their own eggs or you can find a brand that you trust that's pasture raised, you're going to see that egg yolk is really beautiful and rich, right? And when you crack it open, this is not pale yellow. Mm-hmm. This is deep orange. And that's how you know it's a super healthy chicken that laid a super healthy egg that's filled with all of these incredible nutrients that are so important for us to be consuming. I give my kids whole eggs every single day of their lives.
How many eggs per kid?
It depends on the kid too. One for my little one, 2 for my older one.
Nice. Yeah. I've been eating eggs for breakfast every day too.
Yeah.
We actually have I live in the Hudson Valley, so we actually have like Hudson Valley egg is like 3 blocks away from me. So I just go right in where they're bringing the eggs fresh.
I'm preaching to the choir. This is great.
What's the difference between, this is something that I don't know for sure either. So like, it's 2 dozen eggs for like $2, or it's like 2 dozen brown eggs for $5. Why are the brown eggs more?
Brown eggs come from brown chickens. There's not normally much of a difference.
Really? There's nothing better? No beneficial? No?
No.
A $3 premium on brown chickens?
Yeah, maybe just because they're more rare. But the color of the eggshell. I mean, the eggs that we get up in Massachusetts, we get these beautiful green and blue eggs. It's like they're gorgeous from the farm stands. But yeah, the
green
color
and blue
of the
chickens.
Eggshell. There's no such.
How are they doing it?
I've yet to see the blue chicken, but it's just the type of chicken that's laying the eggs. That would be white, brown.
Easter chickens.
That's right.
I feel like I've been robbed now with this. Yeah. Been paying a premium on eggs that are zero difference.
Yep.
I want a refund on those brown eggs.
Yeah, I'll write you a letter.
Yes. Do you have the ability to write medical marijuana cards for people or no?
I don't. I actually have my own medical marijuana card. We have a country house up in Massachusetts. I grow my own plants there because legally you're allowed to have up to 6 plants for recreational use.
Sweet.
So it's been really beautiful to learn about the plant cycle from seed to harvest. Mm-hmm. And I'm just grateful because I certainly don't have enough plants to produce enough for Daily Habit. But I feel like it's so important for me to learn about the entire plant and the life cycle of it. Mm-hmm. But recreational marijuana is legal there. So it happens to be really, really interesting to go into the dispensaries and talk to the people working there and just see how big that business is doing, because the numbers are amazing in Massachusetts. But so no, I can't give a prescription. I have my own. Uh-huh. But if you have a medical marijuana prescription, I can work with you to help figure out what you're going to look for from the dispensary, because it is really confusing. And fortunately, all the dispensaries I've been into, whether it's New York, Massachusetts, or California, those are the 3 main states I've been in. The people that are working the dispensaries are so incredibly helpful and will take their time and talk you through it. And I often go in pretending to know nothing and just sort of see what gets recommended and if I approve of everything they're saying. And I've only been really, really pleased with the recommendations and conversations.
Yeah, so many bud tenders could have their own podcasts about weed because they really know their stuff. I love that. Like
absolutely.
It's cool that it's a profession unto itself that didn't exist several years ago, and now you've got these little masters that know everything about weed. It's like take your habit and turn it into a science. You know what I mean? It's really neat.
Yeah, my favorite thing is going in and seeing someone who is such a stereotype of like a big dude, tie-dyed, he plays video games on a couch when he can. And you get him talking, and he's so patient and so well-informed. I love proving the stereotype of people who work in the industry wrong. And the funny thing is like being a founder of my own company with this is it's either like me with a lot of like Silicon Valley guys in like very tight suits, or it's me with a lot of guys with ponytails, beards, and tie-dye, and then there's me who's like this semi-medical professional, New York State chick. So I love just breaking these molds. And I also love reminding myself that I still have stereotypes of people in the industry, and then to see how well educated and well informed they are. Like I love being, humbled and reminded of how incredibly smart these people are, even though they might be wearing tie-dye.
That's true.
I'm not saying anything against tie-dye.
I feel like those molds are evolving now. Like you're seeing people with tie-dye that are really educated and really know their stuff and can talk really well. I love it. I think that's the old like total stoner burnout is like almost a myth now. It's almost like a cartoon caricature.
Exactly.
I have a cousin who, he went to Cornell, moved up to Massachusetts. He's an engineer. And when it became recreational legal, he had never smoked, but him and his wife both started going to a dispensary to check it out. And over Christmas break here this year, I talked to him about it. I recorded it. Maybe I could play some of that right now. So we're in Massachusetts. My cousins who live in Massachusetts are the lucky ones who can get, legal. They can go to dispensaries whenever they feel like it. It's a pretty sweet life. And you guys just started getting into it now that it became legal in Massachusetts. I'm sure this is going to be a common story across the country as states start to legalize. And you guys just kind of recently, like you as a couple, just started finally getting into it.
Yeah, just this year.
So what have you been, tell me the story about the first time you went to a dispensary. What was that like? Give me the whole story.
Sure. Well, I actually, it wasn't the fact that it was legal that got me into it. It's mainly just having kids and needing a way to unwind. So I went, I don't know why I bothered getting a medical license because it's legal, but I did. And I remember going to it's like a doctor in quotes where you basically just go and pay a couple bucks and they
Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we know.
I was actually asking her medical questions. She's like, I'm just here for the John Hancock.
Really? Wow.
She's like, I've never actually smoked before. So, hey.
Can't give you any advice about what you're about to do with this.
Nothing.
That's funny.
But it did open up some doors because there's a lot more dispensaries around us if you have a license. So, we went, brought some stuff back, and for the first couple of months, it didn't really hit me much. It took a while to get into it.
What were you trying during that time?
I was vaping. We tried a bunch of, THC oils.
Right, vape carts.
Vape cartridges, yeah. Mm-hmm. And, my wife had tried it a couple times, and, she feels it right away. But for me, it took a little while. And I don't know.
What was it like the first time it hit you?
First time it hit me, I think I overdid it. I took too many gummies. I tried some gummies.
Edibles.
Yeah. And I think it was probably the equivalent of like 15 milligrams. And I just remember trying to have a bowl of cereal, and I couldn't figure out how to operate the spoon. I was just dripping milk all over myself.
Like, forgot what you were doing halfway through the meal?
Literally. I felt like a robot, and like half my body was just turned off. And
like, I'm not even hungry. What the fuck am I doing?
So that felt like a little too much too soon, So I kind of dialed it back, and now I got to a point where I can kind of predict it a little bit, and it's nice at night,
Right.
I'll take it with my wife, and we'll just laugh for a couple hours.
Mostly edibles or vape and edibles?
Lately, it's been mostly edibles, mainly because the vaping is they have a moratorium on it now in Massachusetts. So you can't get the THC vapes.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Is there a stupid ban in other states for the vaping? Or just Massachusetts?
With weed, it's just Massachusetts, I think. Yeah. It's so weird.
It's a strange call.
A very
part
weird
of the governor, but yeah, we gotta.
We're vaping the actual flower now.
Right. So you guys got one of those, like, it turns the you put dry flower in and it turns it into a vapable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Not quite as convenient as the little cartridges that sit in your pocket.
Right. It's sort of like a handheld version of the volcano. Have you ever seen the volcano?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's like this device that's sort of shaped like a cone or a volcano. And you put this plastic bag in. Well, first you load it with some flour. And you put this plastic bag thing that is built for it onto the top. It like locks in. And then it just slowly decarbs that weed into the bag. And the bag just inflates. And then you just take hits off this bag and pass it around. And it's just, it like does the whole thing in one go.
It's called the Volcano?
It's called the Volcano, yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
It's a little, a little more expensive. I think they're probably like $500 or $600.
Ooh.
But like once you have one, then you've got one. Like
lasts forever.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone who has one loves them because it's not smoke. You're like you said, you're decarbing it without actually combusting it. It heats it up just to the point where it's able to change it from like everything that's THCA, like the acid form. Once it gets that certain temperature, it switches over to active THC, like Delta 9 THC. So you don't have to actually burn the leaves to do that. Like you can heat it up to that certain point where it changes it, decarbs it like that.
Seems like it'd be better for your body somehow.
Yeah. You're not obviously. Yeah, totally. I think it's the way to go. That's why I was pissed about like vapes not being, the moratorium on vapes. It's like, it's so much better than having to like smoke raw joints all the time. Like my virgin throat, because I don't smoke cigarettes, like smoking joints can get harsh if I haven't done it in a while, which I haven't now. Like it's been a while since I've smoked some like raw joints or whatever, and I'm sure I will this weekend. But
do you do edibles at all? Have you tried?
Yeah. We got a bunch in Vegas, and those are fun, very fun.
Take a long time for me to hit.
Oh, what? Oh, we're doing
food time?
Yeah, we're picking out food.
Sounds good.
All right, cool.
All right, bye.
Thanks. But it's really interesting to see someone who, was not at all in the scene, fits no mold of these stereotypes. You get into a recreational state, and obviously there's so much information out there that you can read about and see what the positive benefits are, and like other people just being able to chill after a long day, relax and de-stress and, take some of that edge off. And you've got a dispensary down the block. Why not check it out? And then it's sort of like, I think that's breaking the stigma too. Like just having people go, and then your friend goes and tells you that it's cool. And then you go and check it out for yourself. These legal states are just one after another popping up, and they're just expanding it so fast. I can't wait for New York. Like, do you think it's going to happen here?
I don't know. I mean, it vacillates back and forth. I mean, even in the medical dispensaries here, they're not allowed to sell flour. It's only tinctures or vape pens. There's some lozenges and gummies as well. But I don't know. I for whatever reason, New York is going to be really slow.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's potential to happen. But it's one thing that's really interesting. You just mentioned about like people winding down using, cannabis or CBD instead.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten so many people to cut back significantly on their booze intake when substituting CBD. So some of my clients who, when they get home and the first thing they need is either like mommy juice, as they call it, or that they, come down and, get a cocktail as soon as they sit at the bar, or pour themselves a glass of wine as soon as they're home, whatever it is. These are the people that are amazing results when they start using CBD instead.
Yeah.
They didn't realize that the alcohol they were consuming, even 1 or 2 glasses, is affecting their sleep in a negative way, which then means they need more coffee the next day to function. So it turned into this cycle where you have a glass or 2 of wine to unwind. But then there was negative effects that were happening because alcohol doesn't do our body very good.
Right.
I get them to change the CBD. All of a sudden, they don't need the wine. Then they're sleeping better. Then they're waking up feeling better. It's really remarkable what happens when we can start making some healthier choices. And it's awesome that these healthier choices are from cannabis.
Hell yeah. Sometimes you just need a couple bong hits and then you don't even need that wine, for real. I used to drink a lot of wine and a lot of mixed drinks on weekends and stuff. This last weekend, like one of my coworkers got me some vodka for Christmas, and that was the first time I've had like a hard drink in a long time. Like I've been steadily evolving more and more for cannabinoids away from alcohol. So definitely there's something there for real.
Yeah.
And I was just listening to another podcast. I think it was Montel Williams' podcast. And I think they were talking to like this guy from, I think the company was called like High New York. If you're not part of it, you should become a part of it. It seems really cool. He throws these parties in the city, totally illegal. I don't know how the hell he does it, but you get on the list, and they're all like at private clubs or private places, and everyone there is consuming cannabis in not very stinky ways, like drinkable versions of THC or all these other things, whatever the sponsors are, and there's, bands and things like that. I don't know. But from what he was saying, it's like, a normal party with a lot of people, people get drunk. You're constantly hitting the bathroom. People puke, get into fights. He's like, at this kind of party, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. Nobody's constantly on the line for the bathroom. Everyone's chill. Everyone's having a good time. You're with like-minded people. It's like, wow, that's so cool. Like, that should be everywhere. I would go to that kind of bar all the time. You know what I mean? Like, why don't we have that?
There's no hangovers the next
Exactly.
day. Like any sort of assaults that normally happen due to like the drunk frat boy mentality is completely gone. I mean, it's really fascinating.
Yeah, and everyone's chill, and you probably have like amazing conversations, and at the end of the night, you're more enlightened than you were beforehand. I think that's great. I would love to
sleep really well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you probably try a few strains you've never tried, or like, tapped into a few new terps that you haven't tried before. I think that's a cool thing. It's a cool way to live. And that's the way like it seems like we're evolving towards that, where it's just another option for people who like that type of feeling and that type of relaxation. Plus you're not out there drunk driving and killing people afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many advantages. I mean, in New York City, you're really not driving that much anyway, but you're not drunk Ubering or whatever. You don't have to worry about it. One thing that I wanted to bring up, because I don't know if this, like, I've heard this and I don't know if I didn't know if it was real until I tried it myself. So a lot of people talk about CBD and THC and them sort of like hitting the same C1 and C2 receptors sometimes. And like, if you say you're really high on THC and it's too high, you're like, this is not a comfortable high, that you can use CBD sort of as a landing gear a little bit. Like if you start quickly dosing on CBD, it can kind of like back off that highness.
Yeah. So they actually both do fight for the same receptor. So that's why when you have like a 1-to-1 ratio, which is I see your preference, you're going to feel the effects of THC a lot smoother, a lot slower. For me, I recommend it for people who tend to get paranoid. So to have equal ratios is really important because it's like they're all trying to, get to the same place. So they kind of have to take turns.
Right.
In my training, the first thing is that if you have too much THC or you consume too many edibles, the first thing you start doing is crunching on like celery and carrots. That could really be beneficial. You don't want high sugar and you don't want high fat because all of that can prolong it.
What do celery and carrots do?
So I think that what it can do is sort of like help slow down the absorption. I think it's the amount of fiber can help slow things down, especially for an edible that's too high. I find ice water really, really effective. I think it sort of like wakes up a different part of your brain.
Oh, wow.
But I can imagine that if you all of a sudden realize that you've consumed THC, that if you quickly enough start incorporating extra CBD within like the first few moments, that it could easily slow down that THC effect.
These are great tips. Like I want to like store this as a little piece of information because like this is something so many people probably want to know. Like you're too high and you need to snap out of it. Like I had a situation, like I made some edibles and I had too many. I didn't realize it. I didn't have too many that I was too fucked up. I had too many that when I went to sleep and woke up, I was still stoned, which I've never experienced. So I woke up and I'm like, oh, I'm still stoned. I need CBD or something. So I just grabbed like 1,000 milligram tincture and I took like 9 tinks, like just getting it all in me real quick. And like, as I'm getting ready for work, I'm feeling myself, the stone is going away. The high is going away. And I'm like, wow, it really worked. I think, who was it that told me this? Mike Robinson. He's like a cannabis activist. He told me that you can do that. It can't cancel it out if you have enough, like quick enough or whatever. And it really worked. I was like, wow, proof is in the pudding. It just happened, like from a like slight edible high, which I mean, it was a whole night of working in my system. So it wasn't like directly just, I don't think it would work on like you've just consumed edibles and they're kicking in. And, you know, how long do you usually, when you take edibles, how long does it usually take to kick in for you?
Well, I actually don't consume edibles. I'm too much of a control freak. So like I can't wait for things to get processed through the liver to be consumed. Like I need things quicker. And I need to be in full control for shorter amounts of time as well. I think that edibles are the number one mistake that people make when it comes to cannabis in general, that they consume too much or too high of a dose. And then it's not something that wears off. I mean, edibles can last over 6 hours. You know, who knows how long you were asleep for, but I mean, they can really stay in your system for a long time. So, I mean, when it comes to anyone that's starting into the cannabis world, it is start low and go slow. Yeah. That is always the answer. And you got to give it a good hour and a half when it comes to an edible before you'd consider adding more.
How do you take cannabis as far as like the THC side if you don't do edibles? You vape?
Sure. We have the flowers that we grow our own. So, and then I'll buy flowers up in Massachusetts. So, I like little water pipes, to be honest.
Nice.
That's my preference. I find it just easier on my throat and my chest. It just feels better. I feel very in control of the amount I can consume at once. Again, it's all a control thing for me. And I think that that's what takes out any sort of paranoia or risk that would make me uncomfortable when I'm in, you know, those moments.
Have you ever smoked like hemp flower?
Yeah, I have. I actually enjoy that, but I would rather take my CBD powder or a tincture or something. I'd rather do that instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends on what way you like to take it, I guess.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool. It's such a personal experience to have, you know, and you never know what's going to work best for you.
Some people prefer music on vinyl. Some people like to listen to CDs or MP3s, you know, like everyone takes, it's cool that there's a lot of ways to get it into you, you know?
Exactly.
And if you do like pipes, there's so many different types of pipes and so many different artists that make pipes that, you know, there's so many little niches within this world. That
we're notorious for breaking hours.
Oh, so really?
Just the third one yesterday.
Oh no!
In like the last month and a half. So yeah, so I can't invest any good quality money into them. But
have you ever tried dabbing? I know that's not really big on this coast yet.
No. And again, for me, I don't think it would be the right move for me with my clear control issues.
Right.
But look, if having control issues makes me feel safe when I'm trying something new, I think it's not something that, you know, I should have any sort of a shame about.
No.
I mean, dabbing's not my thing. Right. And it affects people really, really strongly.
Oh, yeah. So it's super strong.
Not something I recommend to many. I really don't.
I'd say try everything once just to see. See if it works for you or not, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you never tried the water pipe, who knew? You would never known that you like it.
That's true. Good point.
Give me some more cool pointers like that, like the little tips you've been giving me. I want to hear some more like CBD pointers that I might not know, the gang listening might not know. And, you know, coming from a nutritionist, obviously I don't have that background. So you'd be able to inform us a lot better than I would. So, you know, I want to learn too. So talk to me about stuff that we might not know.
Sure. You know, I think that people, if you really want to get the most benefits from CBD or from proper cannabis, I think it's really important to do it in a whole lifestyle approach. And I think people often can forget that. So setting yourself up for a successful experience with either one, CBD or cannabis, is really important. And a lot of that is just setting up your body for wellness. So a lot of the same tips I give people for like healthy living would be the same tips I'd give to be experiencing the best benefits from CBD. So reducing your sugar intake, obviously we talked about that earlier, but taking away the added sugars that you're putting into your coffee, the honey, into your yogurts, all seemingly healthy things, but removing it. You know, muffins are just cupcakes without icing. So really taking away those like flour-filled foods are not going to do you any good, and they're all very inflammatory. So if we can remove a lot of that inflammation and really predominantly have really good quality proteins, fruits and vegetables as the main part of your diet, then that's going to make your endocannabinoid system that much more effective and efficient to be utilizing the CBD that you're consuming. which then means you're going to feel that much better, sleep that much better. You're going to be more willing to go to the gym the next day. You're going to be more willing to make a healthier choice. So it's all this really cool positive cycle. And all you need to do is make that one change that you're going to feel good about, add some CBD on top of that, and then it's going to continue in a positive cycle. But you got to do other changes aside from just the CBD. You know, I think that the great thing about CBD becoming such a big concept right now and these brands all over the place, it's awesome because it's helping us to reduce that stigma. And the more we talk about CBD, the lower that stigma is going to get. But the problem is that when people make claims that can't be substantiated, whether it's by science or experience, when people say this cured me of every single thing I was struggling with, this made my marriage better, this, you know, if by people making promises that CBD really can't follow up, it's doing everyone a disservice.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to take it once, right? So someone's going to take a sample of my product and be like, well, that didn't fix my life. I'm not going to try it again.
Right.
When they might be like the perfect candidate to be using a product like mine, Daily Habit, every single day and really reaping the benefits. So, you know, be realistic about what CBD can do for you and also help support your body to utilize CBD by doing healthy stuff.
That's cool. Are you vegetarian or vegan or something?
No.
So what do you eat besides vegetables and fruit? Because I'm just trying to figure out what is even a healthy diet to eat when you're trying to consume cannabinoids. Like,
I mean, I
Fruity
love
Pebbles not included in this list, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right.
Fruity Pebbles? No, I'm sorry. Unless there's some sort of, you know, flower strain that's called that.
No.
Or it's like chopped up fruit bowl. No, you know, I'm very pro good quality animal protein. You know, if I'm out at some like, you know, yuck restaurant where I'm sure it's like yucky meat, I won't eat it. But I mean, I live above a butcher. I know all of their beef is organically, you know, raised and it's grass-fed meat. You know, that we will eat some sort of meat or fish every single day in this house. My kids are being raised that way. So I believe in ethical and quality meats for everybody. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, I respect that. It's just not what I'm doing.
So is it like the normal food pyramid we learned about as kids? Is that still a thing, or is it something else? What's a balanced plate?
The food pyramid is total bullshit, right? So they're basically telling you to eat 6 to 11 servings of grains. No wonder why everyone has heart disease and is overweight. Right. So the food pyramid is back from the 80s when fat was bad and villainized.
Man, they got to teach the new thing. What is the new thing?
I mean, like, I think the government has some sort of plate, but the truth is, if it comes from the grounds or if it comes from an animal, you're normally safe. So fruits, vegetables, proteins. That's what you need. If you like cheese, I mean, look, a salad is so much better with some cheese in it. Go for it. I don't love dairy aside from that. I just don't think it's that necessary, but I'm not anti it either. Grass-fed butter to me is the best fat to cook most food in. So, you know, I think that that's all really important. But yeah, good quality meats. I mean, you're in Hudson Valley. You've got access to the good stuff.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Good apples, good meat, good eggs, all that stuff.
What more do you need? That's breakfast right there.
Exactly. So it was really awesome having you on. I'm glad we got to talk about all of this stuff. One other question just before we wrap up. I noticed like a lot of your pictures and like your book cover and stuff, you're like holding an apple wrapped in, you know, like one of those ruler things. What's the symbolism of an apple? I'm really fascinated with this apple symbolism. I don't know why, but I'm seeing apples everywhere these days, and it's like, maybe it's just because I'm in the Hudson Valley, but is there some?
It's not even season. It's not even apple season.
Not anymore. No.
No.
Is there a deeper meaning?
No, you know, I think an apple is just a beautiful portable piece of fruit that you can take. And, you know, I always tell my clients, like, if you're not hungry enough to eat an apple, you're not that hungry. So it's a great way to sort of measure how hungry you truly are, right? If like fruits and vegetables don't sound good for you, don't sound good to you in that moment, then I don't think that you're really hungry. So
you're just bored and
a great judge. Yeah.
Want to do something with your hands and mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Very cool. Brooke Alpert, so awesome having you on, and we definitely want to have you back sometime. Like this was a lot of fun talking CBD, THC, all the things. One thing I want to enlighten you about, I tried last time I was in Vegas, I tried a cannabinoid which doesn't really exist in nature. It's kind of like it is a cannabinoid, but it can only be produced in a lab because it's in such tiny, tiny doses in actual weed that it's impossible to actually get any kind of quantity. It's called Delta 8 THCV. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
It has.
There's a study that came out like in the last couple of weeks about it.
Yeah, I tried it, and she said I was like the 13th person on earth to try it. But it gets you high, but doesn't give you the munchies. It's like the reverse. It makes you not have the munchies. So that might be the next thing. Who knows?
Maybe that's the next appetite suppressant. I'm going to look into that. Maybe that'll be a business we start next.
There you go. Throw some CBD on that and you'll double it. You know what I mean? Awesome. Thank you so much, Brooke.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Thanks. Peace.
Hi, Anthony Sullivan here for the CBD Source podcast. You've heard the rest. Now listen to the best.
Gang's all here. The CBD Gang. Give the show a call at 1-833-223-4264. That's 1-833-CBD-GANG.
So, gang, this was fun and informative and at times somber. Other times it was humorous. It was a really, it was kind of a tough episode to put together, but I did get a lot of laughs out of that interview listening back to it. I know I had a blast talking with Brooke. It was super fun, and I can't wait to have her back on the show. It's not often that you get nutritional tips for what to do if you get too high and talk about pot with someone with her resume. You can learn more about Brooke or get in touch with her by going to dailyhabitcbd.com and b-nutritious.com. Again, our hearts go out to the Figi family. If you are in the cannabis industry or were personally helped or influenced by Charlotte's story and would like to voice a tribute to Charlotte, you can call our toll-free voicemail hotline 1-833-CBD-GANG. That's 1-833-223-4264. And we'll try to play it next week on our Wednesday live show. Make sure this Wednesday to tune into our live on Instagram at CBD Source Podcast. And if you don't have Instagram, on our Facebook page, facebook.com/CBD Source Podcast. To watch our live-ass show, you'll see regular bits from the podcast spilling over to live video. Weedman Van, the Cannabis Diet. This Wednesday we'll be debuting, before it even makes it to the podcast side, we're going to be watching the video of me with Steve D'Angelo at MJ BizCon when Steve told us his Weedman Van story, the first time he ever smoked weed. Steve D'Angelo of Harborside, one of the biggest cannabis advocates out there. So you don't want to miss that. We've got CBD Source unboxings. And because of social distancing, like we said before, we can't have a smoke sesh with you in person. You really can't be going out and seshing with your friends. But we're doing our weekly big 420 countdown virtual vape and smoke sesh as part of our big hour-long hemp day giveaway show. So make sure to tune in. Even if you don't tune in for the whole hour from 3:30 to 4:30, you can at least jump in just before 420 and, vape or smoke with us. We give away CBD, hemp, CBG, and cannabis-related prizes from our big CBD Source stash box. So every winner also takes home a CBD Source podcast pin collection and a nug of Catskill Hemp CBG. If you want to learn more about our brand, Catskill Hemp Co., go to catskillhempco.com. You can see all of our strains and read our COAs. Special thanks to my Massachusetts cousin for sharing his story with legal marijuana in a legal state. So for all of you out there in the CBD gang who are celebrating holidays this week, happy quarantine Easter or lockdown Passover. I hope you are being safe by celebrating with your families, friends, or community over live stream, maybe over Zoom or Skype, Google Hangouts, or your group video chat of choice, Brady Bunch style with all the faces on the screen. I love it. I hope all of you were able to secure eggs from an Easter chicken, or at your virtual Seder, you were able to keep an empty Zoom window open for Elijah. It's very important. Are you a CBD, CBG, or hemp brand and want your CBD or hemp products unboxed and sampled by me live on our show? Pack a big box of your products and don't forget to include a few doubles so we can give them away on the show, and mail them to CBD Source Unboxing, 146 Rock Hill Drive, #960, Rock Hill, New York, 12775. Attention, Cole Cheney. That's COLCHENEY. If you didn't write that down right now, you can go to cbdsourcepodcast.com. On the very bottom of the page, it has that information. Do you want to be a guest on the CBD Source Podcast? Go to cbdsourcepodcast.com/guest, a new page we set up for guests. Want to be a sponsor of the show? Email us at cbdsourcepodcast@gmail.com. We're looking for sponsors for new episodes now. We're kind of finally, after a year, we're going to be branching it out and getting more sponsors, and you could be a sponsor of the show. If you're joining us live, I'll CBD you this Wednesday from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's get bristling. The Bristling. Check out our first episode on YouTube and make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so when new edited episodes get uploaded, you'll be the first to know. And if you are strictly audio only, we will CBD you next Friday.
Give the show a call at 1-833-223-4264. That's 1-833-CBD-GANG.
CBD Source Podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Cole Chaney. Graphic design, photo, and artwork by Ryan Weber, Johnny D, Kevin Bierfelt, Steve, and Cole Chaney. Marketing by Penny Spinazzola. Special thanks to our resident CBD guru, Akash Patel, our CBD Source Vape Lounge expert, Anthony Maltese, our C-Body Fitness instructor, Danny, our personal Cannabis CBD chef, Ryan Weber, our CBD News co-host and vocal artist, Tasha Miller, and our CBD gang subreddit mod, social media maven, and wrap-up girl Cass. That's me. Additional thanks to Caitlin, Liz, Ryan, and Kevin for lending your vocal talents. Want to be a guest on the show? Or do you have a great Weed Man van story? Or a story about your craziest experience with the munchies? Call us at 1-833-CBD-GANG. Again, that's 1-833-223-4264. And leave a message. If we like your story, we might play it on the show. Visit us on cbdsourcepodcast.com for all your links to social media, YouTube, and our message board, r/CBDGang on Reddit. Be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week.
Podcast or its related social media pages and interactions are for informational purposes only. The CBD Source Podcast does not offer medical advice. Its host, Cole Chaney, is not a medical professional. His experiences with cannabidiol and other cannabinoids are his own and may not affect you the same way. Everybody's endocannabinoid system is different. The statements made regarding CBD products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The efficacy of these products and the testimonials made have not been confirmed by FDA-approved research. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All information presented here is not meant as a substitute for or alternative to information from healthcare practitioners. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act requires this notice.
Do you like or want to try quality, third-party tested CBD? Do you live in the New York, Pennsylvania area? We got you covered, gang. We're growing more each month, so check in with cbdsourcecenter.com to find our addresses and new store locations. While you're there, sign up for our mailing list. We're adding new stores across New York and Pennsylvania all the time. We may soon be expanding to a town near you.
Hey gang, want to score free CBD? Sign up for Loyal and Save online or on your phone and use it whenever you shop at CBD Source locations. You'll earn points towards free products and other cool merch. Sign up for free at cbdsourcepodcast.com/loyal. You can download the Loyal and Save app on iTunes or Google Play. That's our loyalty app. Call Help Designed it.
So I recently won a little tincture of Mont Kush CBD, and I had such an amazing experience. I went online and I purchased a full-size bottle of their limited release. I can't stop bragging about it to my friends and my family. It's truly, it truly makes a difference in the way that I felt. I had just completed a conference. I was helping set up and coordinate and manage a conference. So I was on my feet all day, really tired. By the third day of the conference, I felt run down. I felt cranky. My body hurt. And it was a perfect opportunity to try my little tincture of Mont Kush. And so I took half of the little bottle, and within 10 to 15 minutes, I was a new person, completely reset. My mind, the brain fog was gone. My body aches were gone. I felt like I had just woken up from like a rejuvenating nap. It was so amazing that I wrote to Mont Kush on their Instagram page, and I asked when they would release it, and they told me that they had already put up a little limited release. And so I went on and I purchased a full-size bottle. So I'm so thankful for the opportunity to have won one of those prizes, because I found the best CBD that I have tried so far. So thank you to the CBD Source podcast for introducing me to an amazing brand, and I'm super excited about their TV show that is coming out this year. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the CBD Source podcast. This is how we CBDo's it.